Well, hello everybody. This is Michael Robbins, and we are working now on our Aries pre-full moon webinar. We're beginning the astrological year. We might say, I guess, maybe at the Aries equinox, we really began that, but this is the season of beginnings, and I'm reminded of something that Master Morya told us. He says, for us, there are only beginnings. So it's a good Aries kind of thing to say, and every beginning is really an ending of a previous perception or action. So I hope there are many things of a plan-related nature which we are intending to begin and have the will to begin. So I would like to welcome you all and for our little meditation, and tomorrow we will have our exact moment full moon broadcast. Now I think Brett will be putting maybe he's already put it in, it begins at 4:30 a.m. GMT, and the actual full moon is at 6:08 a.m. and 1 second, that is 6:08 and 1 second a.m. GMT. And Tuya Robbins will be giving that broadcast service meditation broadcast. And there you have the link for that tomorrow. So if you do not have other full moon commitments and meditation groups, you're most welcome to join us for that. Well, let's take a look at some things here. Here is the great keynote of Aries. I come forth, and from the plane of mind I rule. Well, this plane of mind has to be affected by the spiritual will. It has ultimately to be affected by the monad. The mental ray is in a way subservient to the monadic ray. The monad is the great ruler within our energy system. We begin with Mars as the orthodox ruler, and we're all familiar with that kind of idea of the violence and the forward push of the Aries energy, regardless of the obstacles and regardless of the consequences. But later, as we begin to develop into the true aspirant and the disciple, Mercury takes its place. Mercury here represented in yellow. And here we have a connection with the Buddhic plane and with the cosmic ethers in general. The birthplace of ideas is accessed. And when we really think about it, every being is actually an idea. Of course, the birth of such beings takes place far higher on the universal chain of emanation. But all of us really are an idea in our own universal mind. And there, I think, is something to think about. Anyway, Aries begins to turn into quite a mental sign and accesses ideas via the intuition. Finally, we have the hierarchical ruler, Uranus, which prepares the way for the final burning ground, which brings us into a state of liberation. We might almost say that mastership can be ruled by this Uranian planet in relation to Aries, and also the seventh initiation of resurrection into the sea of fire, or the logoic plane. It is the seventh plane in a way, and is connected with Uranus. Uranus being a planet of both the first ray monadically and the seventh ray in terms of its soul. Now, the Jafra illustration here is much more along the Martian idea. You know, we see the color red everywhere. Of course, it is partially a sixth-ray color, but very much a first-ray color. We are plunging into time and space via Aries. Form again is being sought. at the beginning of every cycle. And there is a certain kind of, I don't know, a rage almost, which is projected in this illustration. It is an image of one who refuses to be stopped and maybe is rushing ahead where angels fear to tread. The situation is desolate in this painting. The magician is in the background, but he's a bit more along the line of Mercury. But the idea is that spirit and matter are being forcibly related, and we will see in a little while the famous Blavatsky quote, which gives us the equivalence of spirit, soul, and matter. There are volcanoes present. Everything is in a state of eruption. It is the first fire sign. It is the major expression of the first ray, zodiacally considered. So there's a lot of what we call, I would say, Mars here. A lot of the first ray is present. I think, if we search deeply enough in Mars, we will find not only the fifth ray monad, but I think the first ray monad as well, in terms of the three rays of aspect, one of which must be the final monadic ray. If we, yes, and of course, there's so much to be said about this, but out of the unity comes the beginning of duality, and this is what the glyph represents, the splitting of unity into duality, which is a universal Mayavic condition, we might say. We live in this universe of duality and eventually multiplicity, and we have to learn how to resolve it all. And interestingly enough, on the return part of the on the return part of the monad's journey, Aries is very important in restoring us to an understanding of the absolute unity, of the oneness of pure being. Now I've got a lot of things up here, so let's see if I can find Francis's, this is an image created by Francis Donald, and I think it gives, it gives kind of a, there we go, It shows the cardinal cross, it shows the winged sphere, it shows the combination of the monad's energy and that of the solar angel hovering over the personality of the human being. It represents a triple alignment of what we might call the cardinal cross, the fixed cross, and finally, at the lowest level, the common or the mutable cross. It shows us that from the world of pure being, the cardinal cross, the energy of life is descending and animating the middle chamber and the solar angel there, and eventually animating the human being. Francis has a few things to say about that. Let's see, I think this is the one. A word goes forth from out the central point of the cardinal cross. The word takes the form of a winged cosmic sphere, the rarefied embodiment of a monad expressing the will to incarnate, and here is this winged cosmic sphere, not the wings of the solar angel, but the winged cosmic sphere expressing the will to incarnate. The soul, that's the middle figure, mirroring the noumenal form. That which is noumenal is opposite of that which is phenomenal. Noumenal is causal, and phenomenal is the result of the causality. The soul, mirroring that noumenal form, projects its own mental substance into phenomenal appearance. This is the highest aspect of the threefold outer form, created so that the soul might once again enter the realm of time and space, and thereby continue its journey on the path of return. And the interesting thing is that Aries, at a certain point, probably the third initiation and beyond, overcomes the duality of time and space. Although it's responsible for entering into the lower 18 subplanes, which we call time and space, it is also responsible for overcoming them. So it all depends what level at what level we respond to the energies of a particular sign. So, and here is the Blavatsky quote: "Matter is the vehicle for the manifestation of soul on this plane of existence, and soul is the vehicle on a higher plane for the manifestation of spirit, and these three are a trinity synthesized by life, which I think, is pure being itself, which pervades them all." That's, I would say, a sentence well worth memorizing, because it prevents us from splitting spirit, soul, and matter or personality. And I think we see that here. We're so used to identifying with the lower form, but when you really look deeply into what we are all of these higher aspects as well. And our spiritual progress is determined by the success with which we can learn to focus in the higher aspects of our nature and bring these aspects into manifestation. After eons of incarnation, he says, you can read it in another way. The soul-infused personality has built its antikarana, the rainbow bridge, the inner organ, the method of connecting the lower human being with the monad and beyond, all the way to the great heights, the highest heights of the universe, and now stands free of the three worlds of human endeavor. Both soul and form together must relinquish the principle of life, and then the monad stands free. The soul responds and prepares to draw its shadow back into itself. The divine intermediary is no longer required. The soul itself is no longer required. The Son of God, who is the Son of Man, dies. This is the fourth initiation language. The veil of the temple is rent in twain from the top to the bottom. The fourth initiation is passed, and then there comes the revelation of the Father. And all of these are depicted here, the Father, the Son, and the representation of the Holy Spirit, which is the human being himself. So these are, marvelous illustrations with which to meditate. You'll find them on the Morya Federation website, moryafederation@gmail.com, and you can, study there at your heart's content. Maybe a little bit more to be said here. The Great Bear. Aries is very connected with the Great Bear. Interesting, and so is Libra. Aries is, as might be expected, closely connected with the Great Bear. Now, the Great Bear is sometimes called the Cosmic Manu, and it has a very first-ray significance within these great constellations of a greater zodiac, which represent the chakric system of our local, supercosmic God, the one about whom not may be said. So it's particularly connected with one of the stars in the pointers, the star which is, of the pointers, the pointer which is furthest from Polaris, and these point to the pole star, a major star of direction. Direction, will, purpose, and plan. Think of those words. Think of them in relation to your life. Think of them now in relation to your life. Direction, will, purpose, and plan are all connected with the solar logos and with his evolutionary undertakings, in connection with the many lives manifesting in the vehicle of expression which we call a solar system, and beyond, into the cosmic logos and supercosmic logos. All of these respond to the influences of the first ray. This is the first ray time in Aries. Easter is resurrection. It's the first ray, which is the energy of divine embodied will, esoterically described as, I love this little phrase, unavoidable directed purpose. Okay, there's some excellent things being said here. Aries is one of the constellations of the cardinal cross of the heavens. This is the cross of the Father, God the Father, and therefore of the incarnating monad. And we spend the least amount of time on the cross of the soul. This is interesting because millions and millions of years are spent on the common cross of the Holy Spirit, wherein we are building the personality. And relatively, by comparison, very few lives are spent on the fixed cross. Maybe well, I don't know, anywhere from 10 to 30, something like that. Maybe, you can't really pinpoint it because it depends on the effort of the incarnated soul, but it's not really a very, very long time. And then comes the cardinal cross, where a huge number of eons of cycles are spent. So this is the cross of God the Father. I mean, we're even told that Sanat Kumara, who is the eternal youth, again Aries, he's on the cardinal cross. And yet, when you think of this great being, he was a master of the wisdom many Mahamanvantaras ago. So a long time is spent on the cardinal cross of the heavens, with which Aries is associated. So the cross of God the Father, and therefore of the incarnating monad, which we all are, it is the expression of will or power, the cardinal cross is, as it expresses itself through the great creative processes. Now, here's one of the very important sections where it tells us a little bit about, what Aries really is, and some of the keynotes of Aries. I think they are worth memorizing. The keynotes of the sign Aries are 4 in number, all conveying the same idea. They can be expressed in the following 4 injunctions, which are given symbolically to the incarnating soul. And it doesn't make any difference whether we have the sun, the rising sign, the moon, whatever. In Aries, we are all subject to its energy at this time of the year, just as we are subject to the energy of all the zodiacal constellations and signs at their appropriate time of year. So express the will to be and do. The will to be, the will to do. The will to be is perhaps the most powerful of all the aspects of will. Number 2, unfold the power to manifest. We recall that the 1st and 7th rays pass through the constellation Aries, and thus through the sign Aries, and the 7th ray is associated particularly with manifestation, and the 1st ray with the impulse towards manifestation, as well as the extraction from manifestation. Number 3, which suggests the 4th ray and the 6th ray, associated with planetary rulers of Aries, enter into battle for the Lord. Well, it all depends who's the Lord, There's a lot of ignorant Aries people who misinterpret what the Lord is, so it's a lower form of Lord, but still they somehow like to enter into battle. But eventually, of course, the Lord is the soul, the Lord is the monad, the Lord is Sanat Kumara. So this is also a sign of strife more than it is a sign of peace. Number 4, arrive at unity through effort. And there is a great deal of struggle in this sign as we attempt to reunify our perceptually fragmented universe. It's not really fragmented at all, but according to our perceptions, it seems fragmented because we are subject to illusion. So here are the keynotes: creation, being, activity, strife, synthesis. These are the nature of the Lord of the first constellation, not just the sign. He rules certain stars, this great being. These are the nature of the Lord of the first constellation, and enable him to influence our planet via the signs, I might say, to these results. So the keynotes here for the average individual who's attached to the wheel of rebirth and has not yet reversed that wheel and has not yet understood that he is a higher self, let form again be sought. And then for the initiate or for the advancing disciple, I come forth, and from the plane of mind I rule. Okay, so that relates to this particular diagram, and I think, about the solar angel, and about what you see depicted in this middle sphere. It is not the solar angel alone, but it is the presence of the monad as well on the higher mental plane, affected and strengthened and blended with by the solar angel. So the solar angel infuses its consciousness as the angel of the presence into this sphere of higher energy and this higher sphere of consciousness, and blends with the consciousness of the downward projected monad. So it's not just the solar angel that is the soul, it is we as the monad who are the soul as well. And by the time the solar angel is ready to wing its way back to the heart of the sun for further development, we have absorbed a great deal of what we must, which will help us enter the angelic kingdom. Because when you really stop to think of it, every greater being is both Hermes and Aphrodite. They are at once the man Hermes and Aphrodite the angel. Well, there's a lot of occultism which is hidden here. And let's see, a little bit more. I just have to suggest that you go to our website, Morya Federation at gmail.com, where you will be able to find these illustrations by Francis, which are so evocative, and probably some of his text. The next one is all about alignment, and it's about the Hierophant, the soul, and the man. Again, a great alignment is shown with Uranus, particularly demonstrating electric fire. Now, you know what's interesting about this? When you think of the planet Uranus, you normally think of purple or violet and the seventh ray, but really Uranus is the home of electric fire, and we know from the third initiation onward that the Hierophant is wielding electric fire. It is Sanat Kumara, and his nature is Uranian at that point. He is connected with the first ray and with Uranus at that point. So all of this descends until the lower man, with whom we so often identify, becomes elevated, and as the subject of initiation, he rises into his higher possibilities. And in another way, of course, to me, this suggests the monad, the soul, and the personality. And I would just say that in Aries, I think we really tend to make these three into a oneness. And because it is a great sign of synthesis, it is the first sign where the oneness of all things, regardless of their apparent divisibility, is demonstrated. There may be, Francis has said a great deal here. Maybe I'll just read a little bit here. Through the one-pointed efforts of the soul, the struggling jiva, which is, that much of the monad which has gone forth from the monadic plane, and in a way it is us, just as we are the monad, just as we are the personality. Everything is the monad, everything. But it's the question of the depth of immersion of this monadic being in this monadic consciousness. That depth of immersion, to that depth of immersion, we give other names like personality, like soul, like triad, but it's all the monad. It's all the monad, only one thing. So even the struggling jiva, that's us as the soul, we are the monad. The struggling jiva is inexorably drawn towards its true self until finally, after eons of focused endeavor, the disciple's mental, emotional, and physical body are brought into alignment. All right, well, under Sagittarius and some other signs, we know that's true, and people like ourselves are working on that kind of alignment. The Hierophant depicts this moment. That's what this illustration is called. When the soul present penetrates the disciple's brain and thus confirms the fact of the soul's existence. I assert the fact on the first ray. I know that all of these higher aspects of my nature are factual, and I assert that factual realization. This knowledge, says the Tibetan, renders the hitherto assumed reality of the three worlds futile to attract and hold. And so we fulfill what the Buddha said. Don't get yourself so attached and interested in the phenomenal world, or you will be chained to the world, to the wheel of rebirth, and you will suffer unnecessarily in an ongoing way when you could be free. And this is the first step out of the fourth into the fifth kingdom. Well, some wonderful things are said here, but I'm not going to read them all right now. I just suggest you go to the Morya Federation website, where you will, you'll find a lot there, and also on the Makara website, a great deal of education can be garnered. I'll just say a little bit more about Uranus here. Uranus, the hierarchical ruler of Aries, rules the occult way. It rules occult mind, the occult way, and is, in an esoteric sense, connected with the Hierophant of the mysteries of initiation. In other words, Sanat Kumara becomes Uranus, starting from the third initiation to the fifth. The following quote sheds much light on how Uranus and Mercury work together. These are respectively the hierarchical and the esoteric rulers of Aries. Quote, Uranus embodies the energy of the seventh ray, and its work is analogous to that of Mercury. They both link things up. For the seventh ray is the ray which relates spirit and matter and brings together electric fire and fire by friction, thus producing manifestation. And of course, Mercury is involved in all of that linking process. Soul and personality on a higher turn of the spiral in Gemini. Also, it calls upon the monad to be linked to the soul-infused personality. Uranus leads the soul. I like this quote very much. Think of it in your own life, we've got to make this practical. Uranus leads the soul to the burning ground during the final stages of the path. This is more like fifth initiation, when the fire of Aries and the fires engendered through the potency of Uranus produce the flaming heat of the final burning ground. Well, the causal body and all of the debris following the destruction of the causal body disappears, and finally the revelation of the path ahead occurs, and the fifth initiation is called the revelation, and it has a strong connection with the planet Uranus as well as with Jupiter. So we're very grateful to Francis for his artistic rendering of these matters in a very fine and spiritually evocative way, and for gathering the quotations and making his commentary on these matters. Right, and there's more. So just, go there to study. He's an expert in divine geometry, sacred geometry, and I'm not going to get into that aspect. Just study his programs on sacred geometry, and there are many of them, and you'll learn a lot. Okay, friends, I think maybe... I did want to mention, and I hope I have it. Okay. Well, there was one more, because I wanted to show you Dwayne Carpenter's illustration here as well. And I'm not finding it, but he has done a fine job with all of this, and maybe it's over here. Okay, I don't want to go searching too long. And I had it at my fingertips a little while ago, but it has disappeared. Anyway, he shows the ram and the rays and the great power that comes out of Aries. If I find it somewhere along the line, I will bring it up. All right, so here we go. This is now our meditation, which is like a warm-up meditation for the actual work, which begins not too long from now, really, about a day and a little bit more, the exact moment of the full moon on April 11th, which is, let's see what day that is exactly. I should have that. Yeah, that's a Tuesday at 6 in the morning, 8 minutes and 1 second. And we begin before that with the 4:30 a.m. GMT. This is all GMT, the beginning of the meditation broadcast, the service that Tuya will be offering. So if you have any question, you just use the link that's in the chat box. And if you have any trouble with that link, just use from the Ask program your Ask Comprehensive link, and you will get there. Okay. Now, here we are. Okay, so we are here really in the day of preparation for this, days of preparation. And partially our work is with aspiration today, giving way about 12 hours before the actual full moon to the day of dedication. which is a day of safeguarding and receiving and holding the available energies. So we're spread all over the world, some 60-something of us at the moment. We're representing the different continents and countries, but on the plane of soul, we are united. We just try to get that feeling for a moment, that no matter who we are as personalities and where we may be in the realm of soul, we are united. So, the personality is our normal area of awareness, less and less so, but it still is pretty customary, and we withdraw our consciousness from the personality, from the outer vehicle, from the etheric energy vehicle, from the emotional desire vehicle, from the lower mind. We, as if, pull back. Pratyahara, abstraction, withdrawal. It's the first-rate thing. We pull back. And we realize that we are not to identify with any of the forms that are customary in our normal perception. They are useful, they are necessary, but they are not what we more essentially are. It takes a long time to shed that identification with the outer human being, but we have to get there. And we have to withdraw as the soul in incarnation. We have to withdraw into this higher field, this higher vibratory field of light and love and spiritual power. So it's as if the normal, customary appearances give way to a more authentic home for us, this soul home of light, love, and spiritual sacrificial power. We feel ourselves merging into the soul which we more authentically are. And the soul is a group conscious being, and so really there's only one soul. It's not my soul and thy soul. And we're merging into the group soul, and the one soul of all humanity. You have to have your heart open to get the sense of how that's done. And in this larger wholeness of humanity, there are those who are the spiritually minded people, the men and women of goodwill, the new group of world servers. We particularly attempt to hold an awareness of them as souls with whom we are merging in the one soul of humanity. As if all the men and women of goodwill, all the new group of world servers, somehow we can contact them as souls in the one soul of humanity, which includes, of course, human beings in the body and out of the body. It's a vast number of human units. And we're told that 6/7 of these souls are out of incarnation at any one time. But somehow we can, as if, touch them soul to soul in the one soul. And we try to realize this great truth which is presented to us at various times in the teaching. There is no my soul or thy soul, but only the one soul, and ultimately a great truth which defies understanding in the early days, but grows more and more real to us as we work. Naught is but me. And that's to be practiced every day, you know. Amidst the variety of people you may contact, naught is but me. Well, we want to be able to maintain and sustain our position in consciousness in the higher worlds. To do that, we have to absorb from the jewel in the lotus of the soul, and from the petals we have to absorb their energy and the various aspects of will which can descend into our consciousness. Just imagine yourself open to the will to initiate, to the will to unify, to the will to evolve, to the will to harmonize, to the will to act, to the will to cause, and finally to the will to express. All of these are 7 ray aspects of the will, starting from the first ray going to the 7th, and we need them to strengthen our point of tension on the mental plane, which will allow us to project our presence and our consciousness increasingly into the higher worlds. via this rainbow bridge. You see, we're gathering the energies of the personality into a point of tension, collected energies on the lower mental plane, on the fourth level of the lower mental plane. And through it comes this bridge of light, originating in one respect from the astral vehicle, the imagination. It has all the colors, this bridge of light. And it is activated by the intuition of the individual. And it passes through the collected energies on the mental plane, and it reorganizes them. So maybe visualize your bridge of light with all the 7 colors of the rainbow, but 2 of them at this time are more outstanding. And one of them is the color of your soul ray, and the other the color of your present personality ray, and you can see the colors: first ray red, second ray indigo, third ray green, fourth ray yellow, fifth ray orange, sixth ray light blue or silvery rose color, seventh ray violet. Out of all the many colors, 2 of them stand out in this bridge of light, and 2 of them really identify the Antakarana at the present time. And just imagine extending your bridge. I mean, it's not a fact yet that it really extends practically to the monad, but it will be a fact. And we imagine that this bridge of light with 2 outstanding colors rises from the mental area around the mental unit to the monastic permanent atom and the spiritual triad, to the Buddhic permanent atom, to the Atmic permanent atom, and eventually to the monad. And these colors are evocative. They call down the response from the other end of the bridge, a kind of reverse projection from the monad itself, which goes forth to meet the rising bridge, and where it meets the rising bridge there is a great blast, a great explosion of light and realization. So we're going to use a word of power to really activate our Antakarana. And although, when you do this yourself, you would use your own soul ray, because this is a group, we're going to use the second ray word of power, I see the greatest light. And so the vividness of the bridge becomes more and more obvious as we use the inner mantram, I see the greatest light. We'll use it 3 times. And outwardly we will sound on a blue note, a second ray note, a G. Outwardly the Om, on a G, the blue note. And then inwardly we pronounce and visualize our Antakarana vivified, rising, projecting into the higher aspects of the triad and to the monad. Inwardly, I see the greatest light. Outwardly, the Om. I see the greatest light. And an answering response will come forward over time from the higher reaches of our nature. And illumination will be the result, and the powers of the triad conferred into the lower spheres. Now everybody has to practice this, of course, on their own. And there's 100 pages or so in Rays and Initiations where the necessary instruction is found, and if you come to the conference in our Advancing 7-Ray seminar, we're going to have approximately 3 days to work on the rays, the colors, and the Antakarana. Because basically what we're doing here is we're projecting our consciousness into the world, into the vibratory level where the members of the hierarchy habitually focus their consciousness. The great majority of the ashrams have moved, well, they're all in the spiritual triad, but they've moved into the cosmic ethers, and by our projection we can begin not only to be susceptible to their energies, but we can begin to learn to focus even for however brief a time in those cosmic ethers. And you see it here. We're going to be focusing in the cosmic ethers, where the hierarchy habitually focuses. For us, the focus is fleeting, and for them, it is sustained. So, imagining as if we can be somehow susceptible to those energies and can somehow briefly polarize in those areas, not fully, of course, but just briefly, we will sound our salutations to the Great Ones and offer our solidarity in bringing about the expression of the divine plan. In Aries, the initiate does learn to work with the plan, as we are told, page 332, Esoteric Astrology. So our heartfelt gratitude, our salutations to the Masters and to the head of the hierarchy, the Christ. Our salutations. Oh. Salutations to the Christ, the Master of all masters, the teacher alike of angels and of men. Salutations to the triangle of masters with whom we presently most closely work, the Masters M, KH, and DK. Salutations to the Master Morya, the head of all esoteric schools and organizations. Salutations to the Master Kuthumi, whose ashram is most responsible for preparing the way for his brother, the Lord Maitreya, the present Christ. Salutations to the Master Jwal, who has given us the blue books and so much of the work with Blavatsky, who trains us for initiation of the first, second, and even the third degree. We're expressing our cooperation, our solidarity with these masters. Salutations to your own master as you know him to be or conceive him to be. Salutations to the entire spiritual hierarchy of our planet. Now, it's as if via the Antikarana process we can touch the vibratory realms, or at least be responsive to them, where the masters habitually focus. But we will as a group and imaginatively go still further, attempting to raise our imaginative consciousness to the center where the will of God is known, to Shambhala, and with deepest reverence and humility attempt, identified as a group soul, to attune with the presence of the Lord of the world, Sanat Kumara, the King of Shambhala. And the way we'll do this is to sound a long, silent, inner Om, imagining that attunement and feeling ourselves as a group as imbued with his energy of plan, of will, of purpose as may be possible. And so it's as if we are subject to the great will, although we can hardly understand it, but it comes out as the spiritual sacrificial will of the soul, the great will emanating from Shambhala, and our lives will be much more filled with spiritual purpose, spiritual will, unavoidable directed purpose than otherwise they could be. And this very much at a time when the first ray through Aries is becoming very strong. Finally, at last, we have to learn what it means to function according to spiritual will. And this will change everything if we can manage this type of receptivity and expression. So now, highly aligned with the great sources, we're going to begin our imaginative ascent. We really, in a way, in imagination, we go beyond the planet. We can't do that, really. But in imagination, we can. And so we will work with Master DK to do that, creating ourselves as outposts of his vast understanding of planetary, zodiacal, and hierarchical energies. So we visualize a beautiful indigo sphere at the center of which we can imagine the second ray and the presence of the consciousness of Master DK, the golden pathway leading into the indigo sphere. And we, in imagination, are going to take that pathway. We are as if a point of light, love, and power, hovering above the golden pathway, which shortens and shortens and shortens, being drawn into the indigo sun until it completely disappears in the indigo sun. And here we are, as if, all of us, as one, here in the very great second ray energy of this indigo sun. Every aspect of our nature is suffused with this quality of indigo, the great second ray of love wisdom. And as these higher energies are now available and increasing in their strength, we really want to attune with them. the planets involved, the Mars giving us fortitude and the will to fight for the higher ideal, and Mercury, the esoteric ruler, giving the power to apprehend and comprehend the archetypal idea and learn how to destroy the illusions of mind through a mental fiery process involving the intuition. And we want to approach the ray of Uranus, the hierarchical ruler. These are real presences. They are great deities. They are always here, but they are more emergent now together than at other times. And maybe we can touch the electric fire of pure will so that we have the great electrification, vivification of the entire human energy system, linking us to the world of fire, to the world of pure being, which we are. Imaginatively, we want to do this in an imaginative way. And maybe supported by the energy of Master DK, maybe some of these energies really make an impact and really change the quality of our consciousness and the whole strength and radiance of our energy system. So let's take a moment acknowledging that we are as if supported by the knowledge of Master DK, who is such an expert in these energies. And our job is to really understand them, have them be real to us, not just words, but presences which affect our lives. So we begin with the red planet Mars, a sixth-ray personality, maybe a first-ray soul, a fifth-ray monad of the secondary type, and maybe as the fifth ray resolves onto the first, maybe ultimately a monad of the first ray. We'll have to see as it becomes no longer a non-sacred planet, then the monadic ray will appear. So we are all of us, warriors. Behind the warriors, twixt the light and dark, blazes the light of hierarchy. We belong to a fourth-ray kingdom in many respects. Our area of expression is on the fourth or Buddhic plane. We are all ruled by Scorpio, the sign of warriors. In order to be adjudicators between the pairs of opposites, we have to fight the battle between the opposites. So ponder on the power of Mars, the planet of all warriors, the planet to bestow spiritual courage and undying fiery aspiration for fusion with divinity, leading to the successful manifestation of the divine ideal embodied in the divine plan. There is so much to overcome in the lunar realms, and Mars, along with the moon, rules the lunar lords, and higher Mars helps us overcome their very personal indications. So although it's a non-sacred planet, we do need this for our courage, as we attempt to rise out of personal identification into identification as the soul and the monad. The Mars ray is here. It is intense. It is real. It can be absorbed. So we, as if, stand in that stream of absorption of the ray of Mars. And we attempt to realize the areas in which either we individually or our group or groups are most in need of the Martian qualities, courage, the bravery, the forward going. We're not talking about friction and fighting among ourselves. We're talking about the power to overcome. And we visualize ourselves imbued with this Martian energy. And we'll sound on what is often deemed a red note, the note C. We'll sound the Om as we absorb individually and in our groups this courage of Mars. This is a real energy, and may our energy systems be more imbued with this very present and potent Martian quality. But then, in a way, moving closer to the sun, there is the power of Mercury, a very mental planet, so connected with different phases of mind. But we're interested here, since it is the esoteric ruler, we're interested in the transcendental mind of intuition. Mercury. which shuttles between the poles with speed and light. How it can stimulate our intuitive understanding, the understanding of imminent developments which the divine plan necessitates. What's next? What's the next unfoldment? What's needed? Nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come, and Aries is the birthplace of ideas, and Mercury accesses those ideas. Mercury, the transmitter of new ideas, and the bridge between the archetypal worlds and the worlds of form, especially between the Buddhic plane ruled by Mercury and 2 other planets, and the world of form. Yellow Mercury, a 4th ray planet, yes, but having much of the 3rd ray in its lower expression and in its ultimate monadic expression, 3rd ray and 5th ray, 3, 4, and 5. The planet of the mind. And we all need this, don't we, in our group and groups? Master DK is known to many as Mercury, the messenger of the hierarchy. And via Mercury, so much has been given to us, so we can understand the occultism of reality. So let's treat Mercury as if it's real. It is real. It is present. It's not just a rock out there revolving around the sun. It's a presence, a deity, present. And we'll absorb it into ourselves and absorb it into our groups who need that illumination of the mind, so that all the different aspects of mind can unite. 3 minds unite, 4 minds unite, 5 minds unite. And we'll see the influence of Mercury pouring into ourselves, pouring into our groups, animating, enlivening, mentally quickening our groups. Will sound on a 4th ray note, a yellow note, the note E. Visualize as you go. Enlivened, alert, connecting this with that, seeing the ideas that flash forth, the birthplace of new ideas, Aries and Mercury, accessing those ideas and bringing them down into the various levels of mind so we can understand. May we and may all the groups be enlivened by the qualities of Mercury, and the divine plan be revealed, the divine plan revealed, and eventually the purpose revealed. And finally, we go out to that turquoise planet, some mixture of blue and green, although considered violet esoterically. We're going to go to the giant planet Uranus. It's not just seventh ray, it's first ray also, with a lot of third ray and fifth ray, and strangely enough on the path of the heart, taking Syrian energy along a second ray line and bringing it to us. If we have a complicated ray structure, just imagine the planetary deities. Uranus, appearing turquoise. The magical power of Uranus. Uranus is the great father, greater even than Saturn as a father, and the home of electric fire, monadically considered. So here it is. It's available to us. We have to feel it. We have to use it. It can bestow the inspiration for total transformation and renewal of the individual and the group personality. It's a planet of freedom. The Lords of Liberation, one of them is particularly ruled by Uranus, and maybe in a way all three of them are ruled by Uranus, the planet of freedom, liberation. Treat it as if it's right here, right now. And it will take us onto the burning ground, and eventually the final burning ground, which will make us a master and even a resurrected initiate of the seventh degree, like the Christ, one day. And in the first parts of the Uranian energy, released from the time of the third degree onward, the illusion of time and space will be overcome. This is the planet of simultaneity, not of sequence, like Saturn, one thing after another, but this is the planet of everything all at once. The reality of synthesis is established by this ultimately first-ray planet, Uranus. Think about that. Suddenly you grasp it, you see. Suddenly time becomes the eternal now. Suddenly space becomes the one and only point. And so we need the power of this violet planet. We need its seventh ray of magical order. We need its first ray of liberation. And we open up to that Uranian stream of energy. We breathe in the violet. We'll use that color largely. What it is as a first ray color, that still remains to be seen. But we all need this. We all need freedom. From Sirius via the three planets Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus come great laws. And this, through Uranus, is the law of freedom, but only after fulfilling Saturn. So let's absorb the Uranian stream of energy into ourselves, into our energy system, into our groups, so that we can move into the cosmic ethers, which Uranus rules, and not just stay stuck in the realm of lower Saturn, the lower 18 subplanes, which are dense, but move into the place where the life and the livingness of Uranus are found. I'll use the note B as a 7th ray violet note, and we'll absorb Uranus into ourselves, into our group and groups. This will have a great effect on our etheric body, rendering it far more vibrant, alive, and will make possible the substitution of the ethers from the cosmic ethers to our normal etheric body. Mars, Mercury, Uranus, great deities present now, demanding that we attune with them, absorb their energy streams, express their energy streams. All this within the great love of our solar logos, a God of the consuming fire of love, in whom monadically we all have our place. The great solar God encompassing all the planets and empowering the ones we're talking about now, and sending out the love wisdom which we, no matter what our ray, must learn to express. The sun is exalted in Aries. The Lamb of God is slain from the foundations of the world. A great sacrifice is involved, and although this is a brilliant first-ray sign, it has so much to do with the sacrificial will and with the Christ force, which on many levels sacrifices itself for the recoherence of the system in which it is immersed. So always remember, you are a sun being, at this time anyway, and your home at this time monadically is in the solar logos. But we are rising towards the constellation Aries and its particular light. How interesting, the light of life itself. Sometimes Taurus is called the light of life, sometimes even Pisces. Those three contiguous signs are related to the light of life. And DK describes this as a dim point of light found at the center of the cycle of manifestation, faint and flickering, at first anyway, not later. It is the searchlight of the Logos, seeking that which can be used for divine expression. All of these real energies to be apprehended, touched now, and used now. So we open ourselves to the energy, the feel, the quality of Aries. It has such a profound relationship to the first ray of power and the seventh ray of magic, and other rays via its rulers. In synthesis, it has all these rays, just the way we do, but certain ones stand out. And it's Aries that is connected with the forces of restoration, which will help to restore the divine plan, which was removed from human expression through human ignorance. But the divine plan will be restored. Forces of restoration. And certainly, eventually, at the end of it all, the beginning becomes the end, and we are dealing with the forces of resurrection, lifting us up onto the logoic plane, into the sea of fire, beyond the monadic vehicle per se. This is the destiny, the monadic destiny, lying ahead for all of us. And so, let us now, thinking of the alignments we have been working on, thinking about who we really are the monad in extension. We ponder the spiritual mantram of Aries. I come forth, and from the plane of mind I rule. And who is that I that comes forth? You know, it's not the personality. I come forth. And from the plane of mind, in the jewel in the lotus on the higher mental plane, I rule. And you've seen the image straight from the highest part of the monad, right down into the jewel in the lotus, forming it and ruling the entire incarnational cycle from that point. So in the silence, friends, I come forth, and from the plane of mind I rule. who is the I that comes forth. It has to be pure being itself, and these rays, the will to express, to come forth, the seventh ray, the rulership of both the seventh ray and the first ray. What do we rule? Eventually we rule the entire causal body. We rule every phase of the personality. Eventually even we rule the spiritual triad through the three triadal vehicles being organized, coordinated. This is about ultimate omnipotence. At first, everything in the lower three worlds must be ruled. And then on the 21 subplanes, and eventually, coming forth as the monad in extension, all the worlds of human and superhuman evolution, the entire world of Brahma, the 35 lower subplanes, have to be ruled. And finally, there is absorption into the monadic plane and liberation beyond it. There's only one ruler of the entire universe, and there's no way to separate ourselves, ultimately, from that ruler, the universal Logos, which we essentially are. So may the power come into you, may the power come into the groups, may electric fire and pure being be progressively realized and help to disidentify with all the lesser and partial identifications as we work our way not only to omnipresence and omniscience, but one day to omnipotence, which we can begin by simply, tough job, mastering our own personality. And knowing that we have the inner power to do it. No matter who we are, we have the inner power to master these elemental worlds of the lunar lords, and then subplane after subplane, plane after plane. The mastery continues. I come forth, and from the plane of mind I rule. And the rulership will ascend to higher and higher planes as we qualify ourselves through demonstrated rulership of that which lies vibrationally below us. And so it all starts far beyond anything we can conceive. We can't conceive our galaxy, and it all starts far beyond that. But once we get into our local cosmos, we have our one about whom naught may be said, and we have the, let's call them figuratively, the 1,000 Pleiades as the 1,000-petaled lotus of that great being. We have the center, the heart and the head center of the one about whom naught may be said, in which every constellation of the zodiac is one of the 12 supreme petals. And the energy goes forth, probably in this case, to the Great Bear, the cosmic Manu, 7 major stars, but 144 or something like that. A great Lord on the first ray, who is, we are told, the 7 head centers of the one about whom naught may be said. And out into the various super constellations, one of which is our super constellation, in which our sun is a heart center, and certain local stars represent the other chakras. But from the sun, from that great heart of love, the energy goes forth, in this case, to Mars, sacred Mercury, synthetic Uranus, and into our planet, into Shambhala, where under the law of assembly these energies are made ready to help develop our planet. Into every one of us is a monad, and as monads we have our home in Shambhala. Into every one of us is a soul, and as souls we have our home within hierarchy. Down into the appearance, the personality, but very much from the head center to the base of the spine and back, from purpose to will to purpose. We are guided, directed by the purpose, the will, the plan of Sanat Kumara, who is an extension of our planetary logos. It's a big picture, but we're in it. And the empowerment should come at this time of the year. The power should come. To be climaxed in enlightenment at the Wesak festival and distributed as love in the festival of the Christ. So if there's something from which you need to be uplifted, even resurrected out of some confinement or imprisonment in which you find yourselves, this is the time to do it. This is the time to ride that uplifting, resurrective energy into a position of much greater control of the forces that otherwise would hold you in prison. So let us take good advantage of this very potent time and of the full moon coming at 6:08 and 1 second in the morning of the 11th, which is the Tuesday, whatever, that's GMT and whatever it means to you in your particular place. And the service meditation we'll be offering about an hour and a half before that at 4:30 GMT that Tuya will present. Let's really ride these energies and use them as a real launch point for the coming spiritual year. Now, I want to close, to direct these energies, the new energies of Aries all over the world, but especially into places where there is so much trouble, where people are being destroyed, their vehicles are being destroyed by selfishness, by the will to power, by egotism, all those things. Maybe into the Middle East at this time we should direct this resurrective energy so that everyone can rise out of these terrible old patterns which confine and prevent entry into the new age. So the slaughter can stop. Because a new vision is seen, new powers are sensed, and the old is repudiated and let go. That's what we need. We'll sound an Om to direct the Aries energy into where it will do the most good, and I'll just ask you at the moment to direct it into Syria, which is said to be the place where Armageddon, if it does occur, will begin. And we can see that shaping up. So let Aries do its work, and let there be resurrection out of the bad old ways. And now together, friends, let us sound the mantram of the New Age, the mantram of light and power, the powerful mantram given to humanity by Sanat Kumara when the Christ said that he would indeed reappear in physical form and be the Bodhisattva of the age of Aquarius. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Let's intensify our point of tension as we move towards the full moon in the early hours of the morning on Tuesday in Greenwich Mean Time, Universal Time, 6:08:01 p.m. a.m. And we begin our service meditation broadcast 4:30 a.m. GMT. Thank you for attending this warm-up towards the full moon, and do your best to increase your point of tension during the presence of these very, very powerful Arisian energies with the planet Uranus in Aries at this time. So it's a real big opportunity, has been for a number of years and will be for a while longer. Let's use that opportunity. Many blessings to everyone. Thank you for your attendance, and we'll see you, those of you who can, and we'll be with you at the time of the full moon in Aries. Many blessings. Bye for now.